Recorded March 4th, 2024. Good afternoon, Andrea. Good afternoon, Rod. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Edward. How are
Good, really
you?
good.
I'm all right. It's
Good.
it's a good week. Started off great. Still going. Got stuff done. The weather's warm. The birds are birding. The bees are being. So you can't
Right.
ask for much more than that. You know.
Well, you could, but you don't want to because
Well,
then it would just be selfish. Um,
I'm
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to let everyone know that Edward did come to Tampa last week. We got to have dinner together with he and his wife.
That's
And I tried really hard. I shut down the entire airport so that they couldn't leave because I was trying to keep them here. Apparently, that worked for
yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that getting home yesterday was not a pleasant experience. And nope, they shut down the whole airport with some type of emergency. Someone that went through the wrong door, did something, they evacuated all of the sky lounges, made people start leaving the airport. And then they said, "Oh, someone just opened the door." Then they said no plane could take off because they had a software glitch. So a
yeah,
450 flight ended
how
up
convenient.
departure. Yeah, a 450 departure flight ended up being 950. Later than that probably, but it is what it is. Had a good time. Got to see Andrew, had some dinner, went down there, saw my BMR guys. Weather was good. Rain a little. Or, what's that? Did you guys hear that?
No,
Something.
I think you're
Uh,
you're
something is
ghosting over
trying to
there.
do it. Maybe Siri. But
Hey, by the
no, this.
way, this is our first episode of Women in Cybersecurity Month,
That's
and
right.
from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are limited in time with our guest tonight, so we can chat after
Yeah.
she's on, but I think we should probably bring her on potentially first, get
Yeah,
her to
that's
introduce
great. Let's
herself,
do
and
it.
ask her all kinds of hard questions. How about that? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And here is our Women in Cybersecurity first guest. First guest. That's
Yay.
awesome. First guest of the month. I thought you were going to stand up.
Hey, I can stand up and you can see my classroom. My class starts at 5:20. I'm lecturing tonight. So students will be walking in as we're chatting here. And they're all fantastic students. And, if you need them to answer questions about me, they could too.
They get extra credit if they answer right. They get extra credit
No,
if they
it
just
depends
ask a
on the
question.
answer.
Yeah,
It depends on the answer.
they get a participation, extra credit.
That's
So
It's all
correct.
this is
constructive. Yeah.
so you are Andrea's inviting guest. So Andrea, I guess you need to do the honors, talking about who you brought on.
Absolutely. So this is Dhani Abey, one of my dear friends at Microsoft, but she is not here in her Microsoft role today. She is here in her role as an educator. Dhani, give us a little bit of background about you, how you got into tech, and how you got into teaching tech.
Sure. Wow. So my name is Dhani Abey. I've been in tech for about 24 years. I know you can't tell by looking at me, but I started back in 99 as a Y2K associate. I won't go through the entire journey year by year. But I mean, remember what those Y2K days, right? When we thought the world was going to end. From there, I just fell into cybersecurity and was part of the team that created the SIM space. And then just went from one company to another, just, growing from one role to another, really enjoying the space. And once I got to Microsoft, I just said, you know what, time to start giving back to some of the other folks who may want to enter this field. And I put my hand up to teach, and here I am. I'm an adjunct professor at CUNY MCC, and this is one of the things that's wonderful, and I absolutely enjoy doing.
That is awesome. I love that. I can't tell you the number of people that I know at Microsoft that have done something similar in an effort to give back. So, obviously when we do these shows, I do a little bit of research, probably just a small amount of research on the individual. I mean, we've been in calls and stuff together at Microsoft, but one of the things I really loved about like your LinkedIn profile, you are upfront and just like, I am a mentor. Mentoring, I mean, that is kind of, to me, teaching is mentoring, right? So you're teaching, but you're also, it's your style and the things that you present and promote as part of, your personal profile too. So what's that like? I mean, how do you feel teaching a class like this? Do you feel also that's kind of a mentoring aspect?
Absolutely. So I do sort of like formal teaching. And outside of that, what I try to bring to my students is really real life knowledge and what's required in the real world. When I went to school, I learned from textbooks, right? And when I got to the real world, it was it was a rude awakening because I was not ready. And my goal here is to expose them to, what is required in the real world, what skills are required, what are employers looking for. So I bring in my friends to do guest lectures. Andrew did one for me last year. So from a mentoring perspective, it's teaching from a textbook and then bringing in, teaching outside of the textbook, bringing in industry experts to talk to the students. And then outside of that, if they need any kind of coaching, whether it's career guidance or applying to higher education or preparing for an interview, I am their resource. I've made myself available. I write recommendation letters. I have a bunch of students from last semester for whom I've written several recommendation letters, and I remain available to them.
That is awesome. I love to hear that.
So you gave out the acronym, or you gave out the initials. Can you give the full name of the college so we can get them, give them some love?
Yeah, it's the City University of New York, Borough Manhattan Community College.
All right.
We're located downtown, beautiful campus, one of the, very best community colleges that exist, and some of the greatest students are in my class.
What's the title of the class, Dhani?
Information Assurance. It's
Information Assurance.
Information Assurance. Yep.
Okay.
And they're coming in as we speak.
I see. I see that the teacher's stern. You better not be late.
I think I saw somebody with rabbit ears in the background. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No. Yeah.
So Y2K was sort of your first major foray into IT. How did you, it being Women in Cyber Month, how did you pivot into cyber?
Yeah, I kind of fell into it, Edward. I was part of a company that was doing services around like network node management, doing deployments of Unison to TNG from Computer Associates. And then they wanted to start developing security services around the Cisco suite. And at the time, Cisco said, I don't think you guys know anything about doing services on security, but we do know that you know how to develop products. Go develop a management product for our Cisco suite. And then that's what we did. We developed a sort of a management console for the Cisco, Pixis back then, NetRangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then from there, it was like, okay, if we do it for that, why not do it for other products? And that's what evolved into SIM, or Security Information Event Management. And that's where all that started back in the day. And yeah. I just kind of go into that. I fall into it as a result of it.
Yeah. I think the Cisco product was my second enterprise firewall that I cut my teeth on, first being Checkpoint and then Cisco Pix.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to do that.
Yes, I think it was. Yep.
And so was your company the company that developed the Cisco Works?
No, it was Cisco did OEM the product. I forget what it was called back then, but it was our company and product were called Net Forensics, and Cisco OEM the product. And then from there, the folks who developed Cisco Works worked closely with Net Forensics and ended up kind of developing their own product and selling it back to Cisco.
Very cool. And last thing on that topic, we want to get back to you and ask you questions. So Cisco is saying claim to fame for SIM was them. Was it Mars? Cisco Mars?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm dating myself now. Woo. So sort of fell into it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Angie.
Okay, I was just going to say, so Dhani, not only are you teaching, I would love to hear you talk about how important you think continuing education is, because not only are you teaching, but you just finished a second degree. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I just wrapped up my Master of Science from Columbia in Tech Management. So that was on the 16th of December, and I just got my diploma. I'm super psyched about that one. I just decided I wanted to go back to school because I've been living, breathing cybersecurity and reading that stuff day in and day out. And I was like, you know what? I just need to kind of step outside of that. And that's why I ended up going and doing this master's, one of the most rewarding experiences. And then from becoming an educator, it's it's to give back, certainly. But we know that there's a gap, huge gap in cybersecurity. And I said, well, instead of talking about the labor and skills gap, might as well, see if I can do something about it, 30 students at a time. So here I am, trying to see what I can do about that.
So obviously you're using your platform there in the class, right, to give people advice.
Yeah.
But what kind of general advice would you give to someone that is looking to pivot into cybersecurity? Maybe they're just trying to get into technology altogether and they're interested in cybersecurity, or maybe it's someone that's been in technology for a while. Is there an easy pivot to cybersecurity that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that I get from the students as well often. How do I get in, right? So I often say, look, if you have no experience, start by, getting some certifications and then looking at entry-level positions as well as internships, and then getting your foot in the door somehow. Without experience, there are plenty of companies who are hiring, but as you are looking at these internships or entry-level positions, also look to see if there's a way you can find out what kinds of technologies these companies are using, and then go obtain some of these certifications in those technologies. So for example, if somehow you're able to find out they are using a lot of Cisco technology or Fortinet technology, go and get a certification in that, so that puts you in a better light when you're interviewing or submitting your resume than the person who may not have that certification. In addition to that, creating some, as they're going through this class and other learning experiences, keeping some sort of like personal blog, or sharing their experiences and blogging about what they learned, and sort of their growth experience with others, so that someone who's coming into my class for the first time can now read their blog and see the journey, things like that. So it's it's different things you can do, and I think experience is key, and just getting a foot in the door somewhere is important.
I love that. You never really think about, you think about blogs as blogs, and but that is I love that. That's a great way to get started. I mean, it kind of gets your foot in the door to be comfortable doing other things. I thought, and that was a great answer. I thought for sure you were just going to say, hey, the only way to get into cybersecurity and do it best is just come to my class. But
That's too.
That's also true.
Yeah.
So you said one of the most interesting thing, which is sort of the way I got in years ago, the tech stuff I could grind through, right? You give me enough time and enough motivation, but it is networking who you know and giving a chance, right? We talked about this. I still remember the 5 most influential people in my career, right? And 2 of them absolutely the ones who pointed me in the right direction, which is also makes me scratch my head with so-called the huge amount of labor gap for individuals to work in the ring that is still hard to break in. So you still need someone in addition. And I like you saying, showing some initiative to, to get that certification where you may not have any practical experience, which can be daunting, but it shows initiative, right? I love hearing someone interview and say, I have a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Really, my ears perk up right then. You have a lab. So, well, that's great. Your particular class right now, where are they in their career? At what level are they if they're taking your class right now?
It varies. There are students who are just students, just in their maybe second or third semester. They wish to go on to higher education to another institution from here. And there are working adult students who wish to either change their career, or they wish to just become, a little bit more experienced or more, what's the word, have a little bit of a step up in their career. So it varies. And, I think they're at different places in their journey. So everyone has a different question, but most of them, I would say, are sort of very early on in their career journey.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do want to get back to your networking comment. I think networking is hugely important. So one of the things I do when we first walk into class is, with these community colleges, it's a very transient journey, right? Like when you go away to college, you're living with people, you get to know people, you create these very strong relationships. But when you're not living together, it tends to be sort of these not so strong relationships. So one of the first things I say to my students is get to know everyone in your class, become friends, because you can get help from each other and create this network. And then from there, even when I bring in the guest lectures, that's a networking opportunity for my students. Talk to these guest lectures, ask them if they can connect on LinkedIn, and then ask for mentorship and coaching as they're going through different different opportunities. So whether it's jobs or interviewing or whatever it can be, right? So I think networking is hugely important.
Yeah. And be very strategic in your network. I like to do indirect learning. I could go into a room and talk tech with all the tech folks, but I purposely work the room and I want to talk to everyone. I want to talk to the salespeople a lot.
Yeah.
I want to understand what is motivating them, right? Think about what they have to do. Sales individuals have to assimilate and consume a lot of information at a very basic level, but it's like remembering the special. If you are a food service provider, you have to rattle off the whole thing, right? Salespeople can give you a lot of insight on what's hot in the market, because they're going to go where the money is, right?
That's right.
So I love talking to technical and cyber sales individuals. They give you a lot of information if you go indirect learning. In your college, do you happen to have you gave a place in life? So I'll assume that the age is sort of corresponds to career changes, net new, and everything. So you get a whole SWAT of different people.
That's right. That's right.
Very good. Yeah. And Rod, you about to say something? I'm sorry.
Was I?
Oh,
You're running out of questions.
We've
Oh,
known
yeah,
each
you
other
started
for so
doing
long,
something.
he can read my mind.
Should I just show you my class? Are you guys okay if I lift up my laptop?
Oh.
So
Everybody wave. Everybody wave. Hello. Look at that.
Everybody gets extra credit.
Is she a good teacher? Is she a good teacher? Anybody want to talk to that? Is she a good teacher? Is Dhani a good teacher? I see a lot of head shakes, but it must be test day because there you go.
There the claps.
There you go. You all get A's. There you go. You
Today.
can go home now. All right.
I know, I really do. I will tell you, this is one of the most rewarding things that I do, and it's because of these students. They're incredible. They show up, and they show up on time. They do their work. Like it's incredible. It's just really rewarding. It's really a great experience. I really love it.
And trading for the world, right? That's good. So we talked about the education piece and how did you get this particular curriculum, information assurance? Are you teaching a compliance course or track?
I started by advising the school on their cybersecurity curriculum because one of the directors showed up to one of our the roundtables, and he was saying how it's so difficult to get industry folks to come and work at community colleges. Yes, they will raise their hand and say they'll come and do it, but they never show up and actually do it. And I raised my hand and I said I would, and I showed up. And after I did the advisory, they asked whether I would teach, and I said sure, just as long as I can manage both. And they've been very accommodating with even my travel to work with me to make sure that I can manage both. And I just ended up taking this class, which covers basically the full gamut of information security, just everything from threats to I'm going to cover after we finish here, I'm going to do defense in depth just to cover everything that goes into that. And then tomorrow, believe it or not, Leo is delivering the information protection lecture. And then I have one of my friends from Palo Alto, who's going to do firewalls, IDSs. And then I have someone from the UK doing a legal lecture. I have so many folks who are so ready to come and help out. I had another friend who came in and did a DevSecOps lecture. So I just, I kind of fell into it through supporting the advisory role, and so happy to be here.
So is that it? Go ahead. Wow.
Your network, which is why all these people are coming into your
Yeah, in a way.
Is that how you keep your curriculum updated, I guess, by inviting the visitors in to lecture and stuff like that? Or is there even a standard curriculum that you teach or that you start from?
There's a book that I was sort of, it's not easy to like change the curriculum once it's that, like there's a process to go change it. But the good thing is, okay, I have this textbook and, things to follow. There aren't any strict guidelines around whether I can add to it or not, right? So what I do is, yes, I follow what's set in place, but I add to it. Like defense in depth is not covered as a topic as I'm going to teach it today, or DevSecOps is covered at a high level, or what's the other? Like zero trust, right? It's not covered in detail. So I teach that as well, or identity access management, right? So while the topic exists maybe in a summary paragraph, it's not really covered in depth. So what I do is I add on to the curriculum. Now they are developing there are other classes being added. So in fact, I'm advising now on a entry level, like a very basic level cybersecurity class, that the textbook that we should be picking. I have to review those and give some feedback on it.
So, well, and that kind of leads to my next question. What I was really going for was, other than watching this show, how do you stay up to date? I mean,
oh my God.
Because this changes not just the curriculum, but the landscape of this type of info environment changes daily, right?
Yes, daily. I mean, I say by the second, right? I mean, technology, and especially with the AI evolution, it's like every single day there's something new, right? So Rod, I read your blog.
Oh, there you go. But aren't you focused on Copilot for Security, by the way?
I am focused on Copilot for Security. And here's what it is. I will tell you, I try to maintain a growth mindset. Every single day, I read as much as I can, not just, tech, but other stuff too. Like I try to step out of tech and read other things that may help me. Right now, I'm reading Mindset, as well as I had not read Hit Refresh until recently. I just started reading. I'm trying to finish that up. So those are 2 books I'm reading. So I have Hit Refresh by my bed, and I have Mindset downstairs as I drink my coffee. So I just try to step out of cybersecurity and read those things as I
So I'm getting a sense here that one you read to go to sleep, and one you read to wake up in the morning with the coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
One is more boring than the other. I guess we'll have to draw some.
And then as I'm driving, I listen to podcasts. Like that's the only way. I used to listen to music. I no longer do that.
Yeah, I'm podcast. Listening to music is a rarity now, especially when I'm in the car by myself, right?
I feel like I can't keep up. Yeah.
You heard it, everyone. She loves listening to the Microsoft Security Insights pod show, more than a podcast, right? You get all the good information, and that's hard. You are establishing your career. The tech is easy. You can get the tech. It is motivation, how to stay motivated. And, people talking about love what you do, right? Yeah. I find myself, sometimes going, oh, when will this ever end? It's just so much tech. Now it's this way, that way. But yeah, you find ways to break it up. I'm a big runner. So is Rod. You can imagine what's on my playlist when I'm running. It's not music.
Actually, mine is if I can't listen to podcasts or books when I run. It has to be some nonsense. So it's usually music because I can't focus. I've tried to listen to books before and then realized like within 5 minutes, I've I missed the whole story, so I have to go back. So
Yeah.
I'm totally opposite.
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah,
something else.
same.
Oh, I
Yeah.
need music if I'm running, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really loud, good beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good
So-
scary music, so you feel like you're running for a reason.
you,
Yeah.
with your current role at Microsoft, I know the title. Are you still hands-on of a sort? Do you still like to get your hands dirty in the tech?
I do, just so that I can translate that to sort of, I feel like I need to know the tech before. This way, it helps me translate that to, solving problems. And it's weird, I know, but I've always liked to know the tech, right? But I'm not, I'm not using it daily. Of course, I don't have access to it, as you know, Andrea.
Mhm.
But I've only played with it as much as we've been given access. So, but yeah, at some point when I can get my hands on it, actually, I will.
Dhani is, I can attest that Dhani is one of the more technical security sellers.
Yeah.
She really wants to understand how things work. They're all kind of sellers, right? There are some people, they don't care whether they're selling refrigerators or cars or, vacations. They just like to sell. But there are people who really love the technology that also like to sell. And Dhani's one of those for sure.
Yeah.
I came from a tech background, right? I started with development a long time ago, and I enjoy it. I enjoy knowing the tech.
Yeah. It builds confidence in what you're talking about. You don't have to be the expert, but if I can't put my hands on it, you're asking me to trust you that it works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust but verify. So I like hands on. Love keeping it alive. I like breaking stuff. So there you go.
Yeah.
I know we don't have a lot of time with you, Dhani, but since this is Women in Cyber Month,
Yeah.
curious, how many women do you have in your class?
I have 4, I think. No, 5. 5 ladies in the class. No, 6. Xavinia is not here today, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 in the class.
Out of 30?
We need out of 30. Yeah, we need more. But 6 is good. I think last semester I had less. So,
Well,
is it? And this is a total question based on opinion here. Do you believe it's harder for women to break into technology, much less cyber? Because I generally see more women pulling women into cyber and not enough men pulling women into cyber. So are young ladies more receptive to you having been there, done that than it would be? And or do you perceive that's the case, that not enough are being promoted by both men and women in the industry?
it's funny, honestly, until I got to Microsoft, I had a lot of allyship with men pulling me into. So, male leadership always pulling me in and championing me on. I think because they didn't have to sort of micromanage me. They give me something and I go do it, right? Like I'm able to. They just have to say, this is what we need to get done, and I didn't need a whole bunch of details as to what needs doing to reach that goal. So I would just go get it done. So I didn't have a lot of allyship with women, believe it or not, until I got to Microsoft. That's where I started to see, a lot of women, standing together with other women, Andrea, Gina Marie, others, so many standing together. I've always believed in, pulling females, together and getting them going. And that's what I want to continue to do at Microsoft. That's a program that we're trying to put together to do that as well. But that's still in very early stages. So we'll see.
Well,
Yeah,
and in so many ways, right? It's, guys being nice to girls in the classroom. I mean, there's so many reasons women fall out of, even if they are interested in it, when you are 1 out of 30 or 1 out of 40 and, you have to listen to dick jokes or whatever, I mean, it's not always, it's just not always a welcoming place, so.
I have to listen to those too. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's compounded.
Dismissive.
It's compounded if you happen to be a woman of color, right? So it's double enemy there sometimes, and you overcoming two things, and it is overcome. We're not exaggerating to our listeners, right? Don't assume your situation is the normal. But I always give preference to STEM, when there are young ladies involved. You get more discourse, you get more interaction. They take it very seriously. When I don't have to talk to a bunch of knucklehead boys, and they're trying to get stuff done, right? And they ask really good questions. They want to learn
We
about
do.
this, and it's so cool. Especially if you go somewhere with coding is involved and robotics. I did a robotics thing for young ladies at Microsoft. You'd be surprised. They immediately go, you know, I want to be a doctor and I want to use robotics to be able to do these procedures, right? Not just I want to build cars with a robotics. I love giving back in that perspective also. It's amazing. I sort of wanted to be a teacher like yourself, but it's a
It's not never too late. Never too late.
yeah.
It's also and just have to compliment you, Donnie. It's a lot of work. It's not just, you have to literally from one day to the next think about what you're going to do and prepare these lessons plans. Even if you have that standard curriculum, like you were saying earlier, having people in guests all the time, you have to organize and kind of be your own little program manager to accomplish that. It's just huge.
Correct. And because I'm doing lectures that are not in the book, right, I prepare that material myself. I don't mind doing it at all. I enjoy it. And I live in New Jersey, so I have to come in here, and I adjust my travel to make sure I can accommodate for the classes. Like I will fly, like this past week, I flew in on a red eye, and that evening I was here in class because I wanted to be here because the Monday class I had to record and leave it as a asynchronous recorded lecture. So I knew what I say is, if I ever say yes to something, I commit. I'm all in and I do it, so I enjoy doing it. This is, like I said, one of the most rewarding things I'm doing. So
well, that's amazing. I hope your class truly appreciates what you do.
I think we do. You guys do, don't you? Yeah, they do. They really do. They really do. They tell me so too. So that keeps me going.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I've always been a top performer, and I've received a mini award. But this semester, I received an email from a student who, I don't know if he's here because he did sign up, received an email from a student. And I almost shared it on LinkedIn, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep this for myself. But what he said on there was just the impact that I had on his life, and that this was the academic highlight of the highlight of his academic career. And oh my God, I was crying. And then he wanted to apply to a program to which, like, I submitted a nomination and a recommendation, and he ended up getting in, and he's going to NYU for higher. I mean, I was like crying, and I have two boys, and I'm telling them, I'm like, they think I'm a great professor. I'm like, you have a great professor, Mom. I was crying,
Oh,
and it was just really, really great. To me, that was one of the best sort of rewards I can get, like, just the feeling is wonderful. So I don't know. That's all I could say about it.
well, that's like your reward. That's gold, right? That's it's not what you do it for, but it does show that appreciation. That's
Yeah.
And you will be remembered. You're changing more lives than you may not know now.
Yeah.
Right? When someone's standing on stage or someone saying something, your name will come up, right? And it goes back to Mr. Ryan Ruggles, who said, all of my mentors in my career have been women on account. I was in Tampa, and I actually got to sit down and have lunch with one of my former bosses, a CISO at a major company, and she's retiring at 49. And she said she wanted to maybe do something that you're doing. She wants to go instruct now, right? Get out of corporate and go back and give back. She feels like she's limited in the amount of that she can help, right? Because you think at that level, you really don't have as much impact on the way people enter the field, because you're not the hiring manager at a CISO level or CTO level. It has to come down through the leadership to the hiring managers and what you're looking for. It has to be deliberate. It can't be circumstance, right? And she was tired of it being circumstanced on getting more people who deserve to be in the industry that are underrepresented. And she took me on as one of her mentees. She said, I got time now. You know, you're a handful, Ed. I'm like, sure. But and it's good. So you're right. Yeah.
Well, you have to think too that what you're teaching, Donnie, is a little bit more difficult because, again, going back to the topic where this industry changes all the time and changes so quickly. If you were a history teacher, you know, history doesn't change that much, right? You can just, but this is a little bit different. So I think it's
awesome. And teaching cybersecurity is very abstract.
Yeah.
Right. You generally only get, you know, validation and confirmation when you stop something bad from happening.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. That's right. That's
now,
right.
When you're doing IT or doing consulting, delivering a solution, you know, Brody can attest to this. You know when the project's going well because you're using the product. And but yeah, it's trying to teach security can be a very abstract evolution, right? Because you're trying to show people this would have happened if we did not if we hadn't done this, right? You know, zero trust, you know, framework of a sort.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Really, really cool. I see it's still cold in New York. Your students are coming in with jackets.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Today was actually a beautiful day. It's only about 48 tonight, so that's good. It was about 70 this afternoon, so that's definitely great weather.
Yeah.
But,
so,
yep.
Quick question for you. I know this is sort of your thing. You're heavily in it, and you're doing it, and you're enjoying it. What's next?
Ooh, what's next? You know what? I have no idea. I have no idea. And it's always been like that. Like I don't have it, like I don't have it all planned out. I really don't know what's next is Italy in July. That's all I know. I'm planning for.
That's not a bad. You mentioned that you had 2 sons.
I do.
Are they like my boys who had no interest in information technology?
Well, yes, until yesterday, my older son said, I want to try some ethical hacking. I said, really? When did this come about? So that was new. And then my younger son, for his science project for science fair, wrote a little chatbot using ChatGPT. So I was like, okay, maybe. Yeah. He set up a subscription using my credit card under my name, but he built it himself I said, figure it out. I'm like, don't ask me a million questions. Ask ChatGPT how to do it. And he did. He's figured it out. So I'm really, really thrilled about it. I don't know where they'll go with it. All I said was not marine biology because my older son wanted to do marine. Well, I didn't say not marine biology. I said, you got to have a second major if it's marine biology, just as a fallback, you know.
Too many Jacques Cousteau's YouTubes and deep submersible YouTubes.
Yeah, I mean it's super cool, but I mean I don't know that there's enough jobs out there for that make enough money. So that's we'll see.
The way climate change is happening, may not be enough marine objects and fish to study. We'll see how that turns out, right? Are we good on time? We don't want to take away from
if you guys are good with me, I'll let you go so that I can have at least an hour of a lecture for my students who are waiting so patiently. But do you have any other questions for me? I really do. I am so grateful for you asking me. I'm honored that you asked me because, I know I've accomplished a little bit, but that not enough to be, on a podcast talking about it. I have a long way to go. I really do feel honored, and I thank you for inviting me.
We thank you, and you. I don't think sometimes people realize even just a small amount of time on something like this is going to have such great importance, and you know that already from your emails and stuff from your students, but there's big impact just by getting involved, just by doing the thing, right? So that's super important, and we appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Rod.
And one of the conditions of coming on is that you have to co-host the show one of the days and come on.
You got it. I'll do it. Let me know when.
And possibly bring one, make it a something that your students can come on and sit down and just listen to what it's like to have folks on. We love to have a student come on and talk about it, right?
And Rod, I want to share your blog with the students as well so that they can keep up with some of the stuff that you post, I think you post consistently and a lot of good stuff. So it wouldn't be a bad thing for them to, be
Yeah.
looking at that.
I appreciate that, but it's at the end of the day, it's all selfish. I'm just spewing what I'm reading, into words. So yeah,
It's all good stuff.
yeah.
Hi,
So-
Dhani. I joined a little late. I had an appointment.
Hi,
Sorry.
Brody.
It's very nice to meet you. I was listening
Nice
to
to
some of
meet
the
you
interview in
too.
the car. Nice to meet you. I have one question, if you don't mind, before you go.
No.
And I'm sorry if I got asked earlier, but it was something I wrote down.
And you can say no. I'm just kidding.
No. Go for it.
What strategies do you employ when you're teaching to help and inspire more women to pursue careers in cybersecurity?
So, well, I try to, there isn't a strategy per se. I try to instill a love and excitement in cybersecurity for everyone who's here. And for women, if I see that they're not, because what I find is some women don't raise their hand or want to go to. So last semester and this semester, what I'm trying to do is get them to go to events. And if I can make that available to them, either making tickets available to them or buying the tickets for them, I find that male students will take advantage of it. Sometimes females don't. And I sometimes just go ahead and register them and give them the ticket. I'm like, you got to show up. And so if I see that they're not taking advantage of it, it's not so much a strategy, more like a push or a kick to say, you got to get out there. You got to get out there. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. We all started somewhere, and it's okay if you don't know this stuff. Tell them you don't know it. Everybody started there,
Right.
And most times, those who have the experience, if you say you're a student and you're learning, they're okay with it, So that's what I try to do. But there isn't. The strategy here really is to bring as much real life content as possible to all of them, because I'd like to have as many of them go into cybersecurity, because there are some folks who are programmers and they may end up just going into development, which is totally fine. And that's why I did the DevSecOps class for them last week. But if I can get these folks to go into cybersecurity, 15 out of 30, that'd be good.
Nice.
So
Good ratio. Yeah, I love that. I love giving them a kick. I think that's fantastic. I needed that in my career. And if there's ever an opportunity to go to like local B-side security conferences, just go, show up, have fun, ask questions, right? Sit in on some lectures. You'll learn a ton and be able to network. And it's they're usually highly friendly environments. They're welcoming environments where everyone of all different ages and skill levels can be made welcome. So I would highly encourage that. Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to what you talked about earlier, Dhani, about those connections and that networking, how super important that is.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's opportunity for us to even go to the Microsoft Garage. I know they do a lot of stuff with students. I just have to figure out how to get that organized. I'm not there yet. So that's on my to-do things, on my list of to-dos.
Nice. Thank you for answering my question. I appreciate it.
No
Thank you
problem.
for joining us.
No worries. Have a good night, guys. Any other questions before I say goodbye? Thank you, Andrea.
Thanks, Donnie. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right. It's just us.
And it was Donnie's first time, and she didn't even end the stream, Brody.
Wow.
Well, she probably read the instructions.
Yeah, I thought this was thoroughly confused, Brody. We started doing it backwards, right? We didn't do any of the really talk up front, Brody. we talking on the backside.
We're going to talk on the backside, but that was great, man. She was awesome. She really had some really awesome contributions, I thought. Things we hadn't even thought about before, because last year we had a wide range of Microsoft celebrities on, and still picked up some really great tidbits.
Yeah, and the thing about what she does is overly hard, because she's primarily teaching adults, and adults have drama, right? They have things that take away from the learning, right?
Yeah.
It's either I had to get this done before I got to class, or immediately after class I have to go do this, and trying to find that space. So you know what? I'll never complain about not having enough time to learn. It's laziness. If I say I haven't studied, it's laziness. We all have enough time. Think of someone that has to switch careers, work full time, do these things and still find time to get to class, do the homework, and really learn. It's not easy. So shout out to her for going in and helping, folks who want to do career changes or get into the industry that I still didn't put my logic around it. Why it's so hard to break into it if you got willing people who want to come in and learn. I do not understand it. And I
that's the
don't
thing.
want
I think if we followed her around for a week, just like you were talking to, that people complain about not having enough time. If we followed her for a week, nobody would complain anymore because they didn't have enough time because she has to stay extremely busy.
Yes, but I will say there are some people who only need like 4 hours of sleep. There are those people,
That's
and
me.
I am not one of them. So
Edward.
we cannot compare ourselves to those people. So people who are not like that, do not feel bad that you are not working 20 hours a day. So.
And it's totally fine if you don't have time to study. Everyone's lives are going through different things. If you
I think
can make
Edward's
the
trying to
opportunity
make
at one
excuse
point,
to Frank for not doing his,
Oh
studying.
no, that's not the excuse because Frank is on my ass every day. Every day. I actually called him and said, hey man, you were right. I'm actually enjoying it and getting up and doing 2 or 3 times a day and learning stuff, right? And I picked up a couple of guys at Microsoft who are, decided to sort of do me a, I don't want to say the word mentorship or sponsorship, but show me what it's like. I got Brian Hooper just walking me through what it means to be an incident responder, how to do forensics. When Phoebe gets back, I'm gonna pick her brain. Chris Riggs, all those guys, I'm reaching out to them because, believe it or not, when you really get into doing what they do, you speak a different language. It is a different language. I think Andrew, I told you that, right? When you really can do forensics, you talk different. And I'm reading some of this stuff and I'm scratching my bald head like I have no idea what they're talking about this here, right?
I wasn't sure where that was going for a second, but
yeah.
Same.
And
There's those jokes again we were talking about earlier.
yeah, you see, Andrew had to be put in time out, right? She took our show and made it's not kid friendly anymore, so we got to edit it now. So
I got to
that
find
was
some
very
time to
good.
study coming up here. I accidentally let my SC 300 lapse. I checked my email on the weekend. I'm like, oh shit, and it was like 20 minutes until it expired, and I just it was just in a panic, just guessed and didn't
You should
do
just
it.
give me your login credentials. I would have done it for you.
Yeah, we did it for you. Yeah, we took care of it. Hey,
And your
problem
credit
is
card
that
number.
I got plenty of warnings, and I set time in my day, but then my job got busy, and then I would put it off, and then I just lost track of the ending date. So I was pretty down on myself yesterday. My wife talked me out of being basically pissed off about it. So I'm gonna try to get it done in 2 or 3 weeks here with everything going on. But when we got a kid coming up, it's hard.
yeah,
why are you renewing it? You don't need to renew it.
Yeah, you got to hold don't need to, but you got to hold active certifications as part of compliance for consulting.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. So I'll just have to go through it. I just hate taking the tests, honestly. Yep. I just hate having to have the camera on. I don't like tests. So now I've got to make that time in my life to make that happen. So if you're hearing me out there, do the open book 25 question renewal well before the expiry date. Save yourself the headache.
And not to kick you when you're down, but if you can't kick a man when it's down, when can you kick him? I think all those exams changed yesterday. Surely did. Frank's in my lab right now.
You're right.
They all changed yesterday yet again. Yeah.
Or was that today? Because today's Monday.
Oh, yesterday. It was the 3rd.
Oh, okay.
No, well, it says the 3rd, but that makes no sense because that's a Sunday. But it says the 3rd. If you go search it, it says the 3rd.
So is Sunday the last day of the week or the first day of the week?
First.
Okay.
Last.
Second. See?
Perspective.
First.
Last.
If you're in the South, Sunday's the first day because you got to go to church and get your life right for the week.
I thought for most it was the last day of the week because you have to get forgiveness for everything you did the week before.
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay,
sure. Whatever. You're talking to a heathen.
So anyway, luckily I've been working in a lot of identity-related topics with one particular customer recently. So ideally, I'll restudy and go through the whole thing and be better for it. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but I'll have to make the time.
Speaking of identity, I have some stuff I sent over to Rod to put in the show notes coming from the Intra Engineering, which has been verified not to be internal only. I can't figure out how to make the links work inside of here, so Rod's going to pretty up. So, got a newsletter. I'm pretty sure you guys are on it. It's what went generally available since February 2024, and I'll just run down a few and we'll put them in the show notes. Granular filtering of conditional access policy lists. CA policy can now be filtered on actor, target, sources, condition, grant control, and session control. Microsoft Intra ID protection, suspicious API traffic detection for users. I think Brody brought that up about 4 shows back. That you did.
I did in an expert, perfect fashion. Yeah.
I like that. Microsoft Intra Identity Protection Risk Mediation on the Azure mobile app. Adds remediation capabilities of Microsoft Intra ID Protection, which would previously only available in the Microsoft Intra portal to the Azure mobile app. I have not used a mobile app in a long time, right?
No.
I don't feel safe doing any admin on my mobile app, right?
It's just more like it's annoying. I don't know. Like I've used them before, and I get it. I get why you would need to do it. Like as a sysadmin, if there was like, I was like, oh boy, I got to do something like right now. It's nice, but I'd love to be just in front of a computer managing it. But it's nice that they're keeping that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
and especially, well, hell, these phones are gigantic. Rod's phone is big as his head, so I guess it is a tablet these days, right?
Must be a
Let's
small
see it,
phone.
Rod. Let's see it.
Which one? What do you want to see? So here's my phone.
And that's the S24 Ultra.
That's the S24 Ultra. Here's my Samsung tablet. It looks like it's huge. So I have all Samsung devices because they all talk together.
Yeah.
Bloatware.
It is actually. They'll do a security update and install new games. I'm like, what the?
You can block that. So, reading down the last 3, and we'll definitely have all these in show notes. Authentication flows for conditional access supports the ability to configure CA policies to restrict or block uses of certain application flows. That's pretty good for OAuth protection. Conditional access require reauthentication every time, unless your users requires users to interact and provide credentials again before accessing critical applications. I think you could sort of do that in a bastardized way by stacking the CAs to be able to do that or doing timeouts, but now they're built in. And the last but not least, workbook for impact analysis of risk-based conditional access policies. Yeah, so rather than go into report mode, I guess you can go in and put, what if I did this, right? Does it generate a pink slip or not? So we should call it pink slip reporting and do that. So those are some of the things that have been released since, what did they say? February 2024. And there are additional things, but we won't read it out. And we'll put them in the show notes. Lots of good links in here too. Identity is taking off, man. If you're in the IAM space, you're in a good spot, right?
Never
Whether you
left.
use it, yeah, and then they're doing a whole revamp. I watched the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps roadmap presentation. You'd be surprised what's coming down in that. So maybe we'll give an update on the next show. It's actually pretty slick. So the exaggerated demise of MCAS has been exaggerated. They're really building it into SASE, all these things. Really cool. What do you got, Andrea?
That's what I was trying to find the link. Rod probably has it somewhere. Did we talk about released the latest Microsoft security report this last week?
I don't think we did, but yeah, I can find that link.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look for that here. But that's has some interesting tidbits of information in there too as well for people to peruse. I know it's super hard for everyone to keep up on everything that's going on. So I think it's a great thing for us to bring those little tidbits out.
Yeah, it's not hard to be a journalist and call yourself an expert. You can really find a vertical within that, and you can just ride it of a sort, right? As long as you got some AI involved in it a little bit, right? You can do it. Big shout out to Derek Peters, who's going to come on the show to talk about Purview and AI Copilot.
Well, we're almost getting close to time. Rod, do you want to talk about who's going to be our next guest?
I can do that. I have that up right now. And in fact, if anyone wants to go take a look at the schedule for this month, which I think is super interesting because we're literally every Monday and Wednesday, but even the last week, we had 3 shows the last week, 25th, 26th, and 27th. So we have a lot of people on. It's great. Up next on March 6th, 2 days away, is Maria Young, good buddy of mine who is in the CXE group at Microsoft for Copilot for Security. And
What's
she has a
CXE,
super interesting story. What's that?
What's CXE stand for?
Customer experience. And she has a super interesting story about, I love doing this month because you find out how most people didn't start in cybersecurity. They took some weird, strange route. Maria has one of those stories. Well, related to Maria last year, Maria Thompson, who started as a dance instructor. Remember that? And she ended up in cybersecurity for me. So.
Came up in it. We
So
got
that
a great
next week. So that's going to be great. A lot of people. And just to reiterate, March 13th on a Wednesday in the morning is Microsoft Secure, an online virtual event with lots of cool announcements. And then that afternoon, we host a show, and we're kind of taking a short break from the Women in Cybersecurity to talk about something super cool because based on that Microsoft Secure announcement.
And we're gearing up, not to get too far ahead, but we're working on April's theme, which is partners. So as we get closer to the end of the month, we'll talk about that a little bit more.
What kind of partners, by the way?
Partners who have a very focused effort around Copilot for security and how it's working, how they're using it to enhance their offering, and how is it affecting how they go about their business. But big shout out to James Key, who sort of runs the MSSP or involvement of partners using Copilot for security. It's one more thing I had. I know we're getting ready to go. I can't remember it right now. We'll
March
for the next
11th.
show.
March 11th, Kate Proctor, my guest.
Yeah.
Security service line.
Will you be here for that one?
I will be. Okay. She helped create the compromise recovery practice for Microsoft.
Oh, wow.
She's awesome. She's a wealth of knowledge. That is March 11th.
By the way, March 26th will be our 200th episode.
Ooh.
And a very special guest. I am super interested in Letitia Gramel's story and what she does. I'll hold it there. Wait till you see it. It's a good thing.
March 18th, my manager, Kazetta, finally getting her on. I'm so happy about that. It's going to be great.
Looking for a promotion. All right.
Somebody is looking for a promotion. Look at that.
Haven't announced it yet, but I got it.
Really cool. So I think that's it, everybody. We'll be back here next week, and actually next week we'll be in the day after tomorrow.
Yeah, you come next week. We'll be here in a couple of days. Yeah.
Well, you'll be gone. We got a cover for you, right? So maybe we get one of the guests to come on.
We'll be in Denmark in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh, I know what I meant. Everyone, stay tuned. Andrea and I will be presenting worldwide on March 19th.
Right.
Yep.
Nice.
So I guess we need to rehearse and go over our lines, Andrea.
And what are you talking about? And what topic are you talking about?
We're talking about regenerative AI and security.
And Copilot for security, right? Boy, that seems to be a weird, strange, repetitive thing. I don't know.
It is repetitive. AI is taking over the world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I wonder what March 13th is going to be about. I don't know.
We won't way to find out.
Quantum computing, perhaps.
Yeah.
Do that. Well, everyone, thanks for coming on the show. We sort of, did it a little different today because of time constraints and I guess availability, but it was a great show. Next week we continue global Women in Cyber Month, not national, global. We just passed
Universal.
And we just recognized National Women's Day, which I believe was.
I think it's coming up, isn't it? Isn't it Friday?
No, it just passed. It was Friday.
International,
yeah. So, a good month. All right, everyone. Talk to you on Wednesday.
See ya.
Bye.